Tricia, this is going to be a mouthful. Legal considerations for human resource management.
Well, there are about 40 pieces of primary employment legislation that you have to comply with. There are no exemptions for small businesses, so if you've got one person employed or 1,000, you need to have exactly the same things in place. Now, before everyone gets petrified and decides not to hire anyone because of that, I would always adopt an approach of doing it gradually. So the first thing that you really need to write down is your personal specification, your job description, to have your recruitment checklist in place, and to train your interview panel so that at the recruitment level you're not leaving yourself exposed. But then before somebody starts with you, it's essential to put in place a basic statement of their terms and conditions of employment, so essentially a contract of employment, and get that signed in advance, so again there can be no going back once somebody's gotten in the door. And then really as the months evolve and as the business starts to grow, put in place clear policies around things as they arise. So annual leave, public holidays will be one of the first things that you need to keep track record of, maybe sick leave and absenteeism, maybe looking on to parental leave, and then if there are issues, looking at disciplinary and grievance procedures. So you can certainly, using samples and policies that are available on our website, you can actually put in place your paperwork. But I think, rather than being too scared, just start and do something, maybe even a policy a month, and then you will get there eventually. But you do need to have proper records in place, because we now have a national inspectorate who can just arrive on your doorstep and ask to see your records. So it's critically important that you get this right.
So what's a typical legal pitfall that a lot of SMEs step into?
Well, under the Organisation of Working Time Act, you have to record how many hours people work and their breaks. Now, people think, oh, well, I have that for payroll purposes. But if you don't fill it in either electronically on a form, which is called an OWT1 form, then you're in breach of the legislation. Now, this is an area we're lobbying on the government, because we think it's outdated. But currently, that's still the situation. So that's the highest breach. But basic things like minimum wage, if you're in a sector that's covered by a joint labour committee, knowing what the basic minimum pay and conditions are, all of those things are critical. And so you need to make yourself aware of that before entering.